Mhm. Okay, thank you, Nikki. Angela, you're there, right?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Um, so thanks both of you for coming. I know I can't hope for a huge turnout with SLOs, but this will be the first of many, I'm sure. Um, so I am going to try real hard to focus just on how to do them in iLearn and um, not get all philosophical. But nonetheless, just so it's on the record, this is the big picture of kind of what is supposed to be happening. And the idea is that we measure SLOs for some set of classes every semester. And every year, the departments or programs, or however we want to define those groups, gather up with the compiled responses or the compiled data and use that to review their courses and kind of assess what's going right and what's going wrong and make improvements to their course. And, and in general, continuously improve the learning. And then I believe it's every 3 years that the curriculum committee is going to um, enforce that the whole course gets looked at from a curriculum standpoint, including the student learning outcomes. So the actual outcomes themselves get um, kind of reviewed every so often. At this point in 2023, we're finally going to be enabled to actually collect and record in an organized fashion. And then I think we're working very hard on how to formalize getting all the departments to actually receive that data and spend time looking at it. And the curriculum committee is doing what they're supposed to do, but it's those first two that are the challenge right now. And again, just so that you know what's going on, because it's getting more and more complex. The whole point of this drawing is that everything is saved in this thing called Curricunet. That's the main copy. So that's what is, that's our repository, both of the outcomes themselves, all of the course data, like course descriptions, number of units, student learning outcomes. And it's also going to hold all the measurements that we as faculty do as SLOs. So our SLO data, also its main repository is Curricunet. So even if you do it through Canvas, is just so you know, it's all getting passed back to Curricunet. So that's the permanent storage. And the other thing to note on there is I think it's a little bit nicer on Canvas, but we do have the capability to go into Curricunet directly. You'll get your list of outcomes and your list of students for every section, and you can just put in um, the data right there directly. So that is a possibility. Canvas or iLearn is by no means required in this whole setup. Who's in charge? Nobody knows, but we do now have a VP of instruction. The deans, the Meaningful Assessment Committee has a big hand in this, as does the SLO liaison. But really and truly, it's down to all the departments, all the instructors. Institutional research is kind of in charge of compiling everything and redistributing the reports. And they're supported by the IT department, distance ed, are connecting puzzle pieces, and Jane Maringer has just been integral to everything, although I don't know exactly why it ended up being her, but she's really kept it above water. There's all these things. I'm only going to talk about SLOs. I only have a vague idea of how these other things are supposed to work. So just to head off that discussion. So here's what we've kind of narrowed it down to. So when I say SLO data, all that really means is a score from 0 through 3. And remember in each, so you have a section, say it has 30 students in a course that has 4 SLOs. So that's 4 times 30 of these scores. So you can, you can come up with that score any way you want. You can do it with one assignment, or you can kind of have multiple assignments averaged out. But remember, for every section, you get 1 point value per student per SLO. That point value is going to be 0 through 3. A 2 indicates that they've mastered that outcome. A 3 is exceptional, and a 0 and a 1, kind of. Right now, here's my disclaimer that, oh, Tejal made it. My disclaimer is that the SLOs, the outcomes themselves, get put into the iLearn shells. That's supposed to look automatic from your faculty point of view, but I haven't quite finished that yet for fall of 2023. So we're just not quite at the point where I can actually send you into your shell and practice it. And I'm sorry for that. You can go looking around right now, but you're not going to see the outcomes with these point values ready for you to just drop in. Which is okay, because you can still practice with rubrics. And really, for this iLearn method, it's all going to come down to using rubrics. And if you've used it before, then you pretty much know what's going to happen. If you haven't, I highly recommend them for any assignments, just for pedagogical reasons. And the whole outcome thing is kind of, that's where they've nudged it in to make all this work. So in a nutshell, what you're going to do is, let me go back. I think I have, yeah. The overall steps in your course. First, you're going to click on outcomes and check that they've been imported properly and that they're there. Okay, they're not yet. Then you're going to choose 1 or more assessments for each outcome. So that could be most likely an assignment. It could be a quiz, and it could be a discussion forum. I think that's pretty much what we have right now. But you're going to choose an assignment that you feel adequately represents their mastery of that outcome. So you might say, and it doesn't have to completely, you still have your own discretion in how you put in the points. But if the outcome is about making paragraphs, then you're going to choose, an essay assignment. And using rubrics, you'll link that assignment to that outcome. And then when you're grading them, basically when you're in that speed grader, you are going to open up the rubric, which you can also be used for doing the actual grade. And alongside the actual grade you give them will be 1 more entry in the rubric that is the outcome point value, and you'll just put it in at the same time. How's that sound? That's kind of the big picture. Once, good.
Yeah.
Once you do that grading, your job with this is done, and then you can kind of expect those points to flow back into Curricunet, and everything, swims around in a database and is where it is supposed to be.
Peter, can I just say what you just said so I make sure I have it right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in our shell, our outcomes will be there. We will take one of our assignments or multiple assignments, however we're doing it, that represents the outcome, the student learning outcome that we are trying to measure. The rubric points are already going to be set up. So it's 0 to 3 no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so do we determine what 0, 1, 2, and 3 is though, or is that's already predetermined so that they meet it, they don't, they exceed it.
Yeah. And
Okay.
yeah, all my examples are with the old one. Yeah, this one has the current one. So these
Okay.
are predetermined. 2
Okay.
points meets and 3 points exceeds.
Okay, so really what we're doing is just assigning the point value. So
Yeah.
if we read through the assignment, let's say it's maybe a writing assignment, we read through it and we say, yep, this person meets the expectation. We just assign a 2 and that's it. Then those points are going to carry into curriculum eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. In
Quick question.
theory, you can make it real easy. Go ahead, Tishal.
If it's in the rubric, are those points going to be added to the assignment, or maybe you already explained that before?
That's a great question. Let me find the right one. You get to decide, basically. So when you create the rubric, you're gonna now you can also use the rubric, you know, like if you wanted to, or you could just do grading without one. But if you were using a rubric and you had other lines in it for the other stuff, you click on this little find outcome button and you're going to basically add another row to the rubric. And when you do that, you have this checkbox here, use this criterion for scoring. I think you would default to not. I mean, unless the outcome was such a good, I mean, if it was something you know, intended to be on a rubric, I think generally they wouldn't really be. And it's not guaranteed that your 0, 1, 2, or 3 points will really match in with the how many points you're doing for the assignment. I think that's a low chance that you would want to use that part for the scoring your assignment.
No, I actually do not want to use it because I already have my rubric set up. I'm hoping that this is just an addition to my existing rubric.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
And I assume it won't show up for the students either, or will it show up since it's in the rubric?
I need to look at that.
Yeah, it's always hard.
it-
I can't tell from the students' view.
It might, but I'll look at it.
It's easy. I mean, it just means that I need to add an additional comment for the students. Don't worry about it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so you'll make the rubric, and just so we all know, this, when you first go to make one, it's one of these interfaces with buttons everywhere, and it's a little bit overwhelming. But if you know what a rubric is, and you take a deep breath, it doesn't have to be terrible. It's basically, you have different aspects of the assignment. For my English example, you know, can they make paragraphs? Can they make complete sentences? Do the subject and the object match? You know, whatever you're judging an assignment by, that's kind of a row in the rubric. And you have all this flexibility of, you can give a little description of what's an excellent example, or what's a adequate, and what's a poor example. And the students can see all of this even when they first open up the assignment. So I think it's really clear, and it's objective, and I think it really helps students to know exactly what you're looking for and what good looks like and what bad looks like. But basically, you have the pencil icon everywhere, so you can, you know, you're describing what it is. They call it a criterion or criteria. Pencil icon to change what the criteria is. Pencil icon to change what you would describe as an excellent example of that. And then you have all this flexibility. See how this one only has a 0 or a 5? So you could hit this plus button and do a 5 and a 3 and a 0, or a 5 and a 2 and a 0. And you can delete them with the little trash can. Go ahead, Nikki.
So on this one, you have the learning outcome on there on the rubric as well.
Yes.
And that's factored into the points. And I think this may have been Tejal's question before.
Mhm.
Is it, if we already have a rubric, can we add another rubric that's doing the outcome only?
You would add it to your rubric. And like I said, you would most
Okay.
likely uncheck this one as you're adding it.
Okay, so you can add, like you have it on that sheet there. You
Yeah.
added it, but that point, the outcome is you do the unchecking, so
Mhm.
it doesn't add into the score. Is that what you're
Ex-
saying?
Exactly. In this one, I
Okay.
left it checked. And so
Okay,
that, and it's an
got it.
old outcome that's it goes up to 5, which it shouldn't.
Okay, got it. Okay, so I'm trying to understand how to do that. That makes sense. Thank you.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, if you already have rubrics, you're in very good shape. And then, so there's that one check mark here, right? And you kind of have to uncheck it right when you're adding the outcome. And you have all these down here. Too many options, I think. If you only cared about doing this for outcomes and you wanted to give a score normally, you would uncheck this, use this rubric for assignment grading. You would leave that unchecked. The rest, I wouldn't worry about all these options. Just take the defaults. They all have some meaning, and some of them are not clear at all, and don't worry about it. If you have one outcome and you do this for multiple assignments, then those will get averaged together. And I believe it does some kind of equation where it weights the more recent assignments heavier than more distant past ones. But it's perfectly fine to do one assignment, or you could do a couple.
And you said right now the outcomes are not in the course, but they will be, or
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, they will be by the end of this week. I
Oh,
have it all here. I just don't want to rush it.
no, that's fine.
Yeah.
So this is not a question for you, but I haven't done any outcome assessments in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
That, I mean,
That's
is that par for Gavilan for now that we haven't done any?
That's where we're at. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure, because I don't know, sometimes, you miss emails and then.
I know. No, plenty of people have, and all those results are kind of sitting in a paper binder somewhere or something. It's just all been really messy lately. And it looks like I missed some things on the slide. So what I meant to put here was, do I have to use the rubric to grade? No, you can leave that one box unchecked that I just showed you. Do I have to grade the assignment and the outcome separately? So am I doing twice the grading? And let me show you. You're probably familiar with the speed grader. And before you see this, you would see a little button that says expand rubric, I believe. And if you only were doing this to do SLOs, then yeah, you'd have to give the assignment a grade and an expand rubric and give the outcome a grade. My recommendation is you fully embrace the rubric, and then you can just do the different parts in here. And from this point of view, as you're grading, you can literally just click on 5 points, 2 points, 3 points, save. Like once you've done that work up front for the rubric, and if you don't need any more explanation with the student, it can save you time there. You'll probably want
Lots
to
of time. Save me lots of time.
Yeah.
Because I only then need to add specific comments to the student. Everything else has already been explained, and students like it, honestly, because they kind of look at that. I've started noticing that they actually answer to the rubric instead
Mhm.
of my post,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
I mean, it's good, right? I mean, that way I can check off quickly too. Okay, you did it, you did it, you did it, kind of thing.
I think it's excellent. Yeah. Did you have something, Nikki?
Me?
Yeah, I saw your
Oh,
lips move.
oh no, I'm kind of thinking out loud, I guess, to myself.
Okay.
Because I do sometimes I use the rubrics, but a lot of times I'll make comments to the students specifically. And I think that's why I'm so overwhelmed with my online classes, is because I go in and I comment to or I try and comment to every student. So it's
Mhm.
too many, it's too much. So
Yeah. Yeah.
this is good to hear what other people do.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but a lot of times those comments are the same, right? Like for 5 or 10 students, you're making the same comments. So
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And I've had other colleagues say, well, why don't you just post it in an announcement or something like that? And it's just, I'm always trying to balance the connection with the student though, making sure that I'm interacting with everyone. And so that's my dilemma.
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah. I don't know if you've used it, but do you know about the notes column in the gradebook? So what I do is I just try to make sure that I've interacted with each student at least once during the semester. And so once having given, posted a specific personal comment to the student, I just check it off in the notes column. And then, about halfway through the semester, I kind of have a quick look to see if I missed anybody, because then I don't have to try and, comment every time.
Uh,
So the student gets to hear from me at least once, in addition to all of the other stuff we do. This
Yeah,
is on the
that's
personal.
good. That's good.
Yeah, otherwise I'm telling you, with 3 or 4 classes, the names
Mhm.
get mixed up too, because I have same name students in 3 of my classes. I'm like, I don't know which Jessica I responded to.
I was going to show you this. You have a way to save comments back to your students. So, and as you save notes to them, it kind of auto-completes if you want it to.
Well, that's a game changer. I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
So where is that again? 'Cause I've never seen that either.
it's right here. There should be a little bubble above your feedback area.
Because yeah, in English, I teach English, so you kind of have to do a lot more comments. I think it depends on your department,
Yeah, and you really want to be marking up a paper too, I would suspect. But you can, oh, here it is, add comment to the library. Yeah, that's, I wish I could show everybody that. But
So helpful. Thank you.
absolutely. So what were my other questions? Do the points of the outcome count in the grade? And again, that's up to you if you check that one when you bring it into the rubric. And okay, here's the thing with quizzes. Right now, it is possible to do this for an entire quiz. And I'm not sure if that would be useful, but that's what we got. In the world of Canvas and the Instructure company, they've been having their big quiz rewrite called New Quizzes. And they must have started about 3 or 4 years ago. And it's just kind of turned into the project from hell. And they are still, we could turn it on as a beta feature, and I just haven't even turned it on yet. They're still not up to parity with the current quizzes. And so with the new quizzes, we would have the ability to do this, attach an outcome to an individual question. It's gonna new quizzes will be unavoidable probably next year, but they've delayed it and pushed it back so many years now that I'm not holding my breath for anything. So right now you can, and for a quiz, it's buried up in that little 3-dot menu that you can show a rubric or create a rubric. Those, I don't think those would be that useful for a quiz. Anyways, that's where it is. the other graded item is a discussion forum. And the rubric for it is in a similar place, and you can do the same situation with a discussion forum if you want to do that. The other things that are graded are external tools or like Turnitin or different random things. Though I don't think those are going to have this built in. So we've pretty much got assignments and discussion forums as far as things to attach an outcome to.
Any suggestions on what to do with the quiz? I mean, would you just kind of use your own thinking on if you have a specific question, like use the same kind of guideline and just keep track of it yourself?
I honestly don't think it's that useful. And it could be. And remember, you're still putting in a score manually, even if the quiz is automatically graded. For an outcome, you would still have to be putting in a score manually. I think maybe it'd be useful if you knew you had to grade that quiz by hand anyways, and you knew there was a good juicy question that was really going to get to the heart of a particular outcome. Then you may as well put it there. And you attach it to the entire quiz, but you could look at that one essay question on it to decide what you're reporting for that outcome. So it doesn't necessarily have to relate philosophically to the whole quiz. It's more a matter of convenience of where you want to do that grading.
Oh, so I could technically have one essay question in there. Attach
Yeah.
the outcome rubric to that, because I'll be grading that by hand anyways.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then just put in the outcome there. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking I would just have a new quiz with just one question in it that connects to the outcome, but I like this one better.
Mhm.
I don't have to create a new quiz.
Mhm. And yeah, so I showed you this. And then, oh, yeah, that shouldn't have been there. Yeah, and that's about it. So you saw the process. The first step of that I'm denying you at the moment is you would go into a course and you would click on this outcomes here. So this is CSIS 6. This is one of the few that does have them. And really all you're doing is coming to see, are they here? Just confirming that they're here, that those look like the right ones. And that's good. For the most part, I haven't put them into courses. You can see in this little interface, you can expand them. You could see the full description. You can see those point values. So that's good. Then you would go into assignments. And you would pick out the one, the first one that you want to attach the first outcome to. Go in and start with this plus rubric. If you don't already have a rubric, you would do plus rubric. And this is where it starts to get hectic. So you've got kind of a dummy criteria that would be, you would want to edit or delete this one. You guys, I think, have all done rubrics. I don't have to go all through it. And then don't be confused by this find a rubric. You're looking for find outcome. And that's just going to have the outcomes that I've associated with this class. And your only option is use the points or not. So you would import that. And that just adds the row. I don't think you can't do any more changing. Yeah, the 3 points show up here, but it's not actually being used.
I'm assuming I'll be able to choose it just like I choose any other criteria, so 3 or 2 or whatever.
For these values,
Would I be able to like select on it like we do for the other rubric?
unfortunately not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then how would I put it in?
I think really you're not going to use this to grade the student for their
Correct.
actual grade, for their class grade.
Mhm.
Because it's most likely not going to match up to your
Right.
point system.
Right.
And if this is all we're doing, big averages with multiple sections, we had to come up with some consistent scale to do all these. So there's no clean way to make both of those things work at the same time.
Oh, no, that's fine. But I was just going to the next step. So practically, once I put that in, and
Oh
then
yeah.
the students submit the assignments, can I click on? I can because it's not being graded, right? So
Right
I
now,
can click
no.
on these. I
No,
won't be
right
able to
now
click on
you're
it.
in where you're editing them.
No, I know. But what I'm trying to say is once it's done, and I'm trying to remember, but if it's not going to count towards grading, I don't think I can select it either, right? If I
Um,
choose for it to not count.
you would, you're still
Oh yeah, I
you're
could
still
still do it. Okay.
selecting it for the purpose of reporting out.
Okay, so it'll still let me do it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. So that's the best of both worlds. Then it won't
Yeah.
count towards my grades, but it will still let me
Mhm. Yeah.
send the outcome result.
Yeah. Yeah, and this one is counting, but it's gonna look like this. I'm not clicking on anything because I don't want to
Yeah.
send Kyle some reports that he failed my class. So any questions with that?
No, nothing on this, but I was just curious. Maybe you already talked about it, but this.
Mhm.
So are we saying that this outcomes are not connected to directly to curriculum? Because I don't have access to curriculum at Gavilan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's why I was wondering if because I'm only sent outcomes. I mean results once. I think first time I taught, second time I taught at Gavilan, second
Mhm.
semester. It was
Yeah.
just before the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
now I'm not
There.
sending it to anybody. I would just put it in here and it goes automatically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
the beginning of the semester, I put in the outcomes to the shell. And at the end of the semester, the curricunet reaches out and pulls all the data for SLO reporting, and it saves it in curricunet, which is our master repository. And optionally, you could go put it directly into a curricunet. And you made a good point. I don't know exactly who you might now have access to that. I'm not sure.
So right now, I don't think it's fully launched. I think the last conversation we had with the Meaningful Assessment Committee is we're trying to do just a few folks that have access to it first to see how it works before it rolls out to everyone.
Okay.
So I guess, and I would still wait for my dean or my department chair to tell me that you need to assess this outcome before I add it in, or do I just?
I would go ahead and do it. I mean, we kind of have a standing instruction to do it, and
Okay.
we get paid for it. Yeah. So there's no penalty if you don't, and there's an extra 150 or 300 if you do. I don't know exactly what.
Yeah, it's 250.
250.
Okay, I didn't know that. I must have missed that
Yeah.
email. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a form. You definitely want to fill out the form. So I tell my department, this is how I get my department to assess, because obviously like most departments, we have a lot of part-time folks. So I say, you know what, you get paid for this. So update, we just went through that 5-year review of a lot of courses. And so I had folks assess their SLOs at the same time, just because it's a ton of work. And so it makes it easy to do it all at once. But yeah, some folks are getting paid, $500 because they're doing multiple classes or more.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. put it on my to-do list.
Okie dokie then. If there's no other questions, then that's what I got. And thank you, you three, for coming.
Absolutely.
Does it make sense? Does it seem like something you could go and start setting up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, me personally, I love it because then, I don't have to do it separately.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
So, yes, absolutely. And I mean, we haven't tried it out, but I love the fact that, again, as a part-timer, I didn't have to do it, but I did have to collect it and send it. So that was
Mhm.
another thing on my to-do list that, okay, don't forget to send this at the end of the semester.
Yeah.
So now it's, it's just part of grading, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
It's done.
Cool. Then I'm going to keep plugging away at my programming here. So you should see those outcomes in your shells on Thursday.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.